Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tonight Show podcast with me, Charlie, and Zach. Tonight, the 10th of October. Oh, it's a bit chilly out there, isn't it? It's certainly going to be getting colder very soon. I'm nice and warm, snugged up in the dressing gown tonight. I'm joined by late party supporter Zach James for all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hello, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Well, let's get on with this show. We have a lot to talk about. We've got to try and fit this into a very tight show tonight. So, yes. Um, we've had hurricanes, we've had the UK news. Can we start? Obviously, we're going to start with the UK news. This week, we have had the Conservative leadership contest. I believe the new leader is elected at the end of the month. And there are two people left now. Sensationally, the other day, the front runner, James Cleverly, got booted out of the leadership contest after receiving fewer MPs backing him compared to Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick. They are now the last two standing. I believe there are potentially maybe debates going ahead on this for the next leader. With the 1922 committee will be announcing the results nearer the end of the month. A long leadership contest, Zach, and look, obviously, this is a very interesting decision because obviously this week we've had Parliament, we've had the Chagos Islands debate earlier in the week in Parliament as well, where Sir Keir Starmer effectively gave up territory to the Chagos Islands, and obviously David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, held a debate in Parliament. I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, about the debate. I think Reform UK wrote a letter about it. It's been a busy week, certainly for Parliament and in general UK news.
Yeah. What a week. In terms of parliamentary business, what a week. And in some ways, goodness me, it has been some surprises. Definitely. The Tory leadership race first. We'll start off with that. I mean, whew, that was a lot twisting and turning in that one. Explain what happened on Tuesday first of all. With James Cleverly came out as the favourite. Most MPs on his side winning, and looked like he's about to make the final two. He did well. He clearly had a good party conference, based on the fact he got more MPs and most of his votes went to him. Tugendhat got knocked out, and he expected that most of his votes would go around, and he managed to get most of them back. Then Wednesday came around, and another twist. We thought one of Robert Jenrick or Kemi Badenoch would be knocked out, and they'd be left between them two or either James Cleverly. Oh, how wrong we were. I don't know what happened, but James Cleverly lost two MPs in total. But it was two MPs too many, as he went out of the Conservative leadership race. He went from the favourite to then being knocked out in a matter of 24 hours. I mean, stunning stuff, really. My guess on that is that, from what I'm reading and what my understanding is of this, is that some cleverly voted MPs supporting him originally went to Jenrick so that they could tactically have a better opportunity to win compared to Badenoch, because they thought Badenoch would be a bigger threat than James Cleverly. But I think what's happened is that so many supporters of James Cleverly went to Robert Jenrick that it cancelled out, and Tom Tugendhat's votes did not all go over to James Cleverly in exchange. And therefore, what's happened is so many MPs have switched their mind, so many Cleverly supporters have switched, that he's ended up in third position rather than second. And he's been knocked out in the process. So, yeah, it was a very surprising result and a very shocking result in many ways as well. So now we're left with two. And presumably, in my view, the two most right-wing options, and probably the ones that Labour are probably going to be laughing at now. And I think this has been a good day, a good week after that, a good couple of days for Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats as well, who will be laughing along this Tory leadership election, listening to Kemi Badenoch, and Robert Jenrick, who's just as right-wing as each other, So they're going to elect someone that's more right wing than Rishi Sunak is. One is on. One is just obsessed with body parts and toilets and just culture in general. The other one is has a deranged policy of leaving the ECHR, which is complete fantasy. And today suggested that anyone who under a Robert Jenrick leadership would have to sign up to leaving the ECHR. And anyone who wants a shadow cabinet position has to support leaving the ECHR. It is a stunning situation where we have reform chasing right wing MPs now doing the Conservative leadership election. I have to say, it always feels like a scenario of 2015. You remember when Labour lost in the general election there with Ed Miliband? Ed Miliband resigned, and what did the membership do? They decided to vote someone even more unelectable than Ed Miliband. That's how it feels like. What personally it feels like to me. Someone who is, the Conservatives have basically decided to go not be normal and decided to pick the two most craziest people in the leadership race. One that thinks, that civil servants should go to prison. The other who thinks that, a certain armed forces people have been, killing, killing people rather than detaining them. So Labour and Lib Dems are laughing at this leadership contest because the Conservatives have managed to shoot themselves in the foot again, quite frankly. This is on the week that Parliament has returned, PMQs have returned. Don't even think Rishi Sunak did well, to be honest. He could have gone 100,000,001 things that he could have gone this week, and yet it didn't really land effectively at all. I know we're in the sort of deadpan period of his leadership of the Conservative Party, but my goodness me. I think Labour will be pleased over the last few days after a really difficult week, after Suke resigning or being moved to a weaker role and a complete shake-up in number 10 in the inner workings of it. And yeah, I think it's been a slightly better week. Labour will end the end of it happier than they were beginning of it.
Watch out for the freebie scandal. There'll be loads more. Apparently, loads of claims with Labour MPs apparently getting free tickets to Taylor Swift concerts, and Ibiza certainly were on the agenda. That was what I read up on a news source, according to X, apparently. I also read up as well that there was a lot of displeasure around the Chagos Islands. The fact that this is sovereign, this was apparently, according to many people, claiming that China was being favoured by giving. I mean, Zach, okay, I'm going to ask you this question here. Obviously, you're a Labour supporter yourself. What did you make to the comments that many MPs made on that debate on the Chagos Islands, particularly Nigel Farage's comment about Donald Trump potentially not going down well with this?
I couldn't really. Do you know what? Generally, and I know this may surprise people, but I couldn't care about the Chagos Islands. I really couldn't care. I've never heard about it up until now. And then suddenly, United States supports this deal that's been made of the Chagos Islands. The UK supports it. I mean, all sides support it. And what's surprisingly happened is I've never seen the Conservative Party benches so full for a statement for an island that I never heard up until now, and was actually, according to the ECHR, in their view, illegally occupied by the UK. Now they're giving it up, but they're keeping the military base for 99 years, which is a long time, I should say. UK and US, they're having joint military control of that base for 99 more years under this agreement. Like, I couldn't really give a damn. Why is the big fuss? It's not like we're giving up the Falklands or Gibraltar. We're not going to give them up. We're giving up something that we've illegally occupied. And yeah, like, what is the big deal? Why I mean, this is typical of the Conservative Party. They maybe come and dance about this like it's the most dreadful thing in the world. It's just pathetic performative politics, displaying culture war nonsense. I couldn't care about the Chagos Islands. I really couldn't. It's a small island that we shouldn't be occupied. We should have given it up, according to the ECHR. So, you know, I'm not interested in the Chagos Islands. I'm really not. I couldn't give a damn about it. I don't know what I didn't hear about. I didn't know about it until it was like last week. I had no idea what it was until now, and now suddenly I realised I couldn't care even more. So they can have it. It doesn't bother me. It won't affect me. It really doesn't really affect most of us, but somehow we suddenly some people have suddenly become experts on this and have no idea what they're talking about. I really couldn't care. I'll just have a cup of tea and throw it away because it's not. It doesn't really interest me at all.
Most of the, and I mean, most of the night was it was an interesting day, and obviously, you know, the 22 billion pound black hole thing came out in the debate alone as well. I mean, look, I'm going to let you guys comment down below what you make to this, because clearly, you know, there's a lot of people, you know, who want to hit a different sides of the argument on this. I mean, obviously, a debate was called Reform UK, I think, called the debate. I think there was a private prosecution into something going on as well with a stabbing or something the other month. So, yeah, this is the UK politics now for you guys. So yeah, I'm not. I'm gonna. We've got to remain partial on this show, really. So I'm not. I'm not going to give any more about it. But that's the latest news there from the world of UK politics. Now it's time to talk. We're going to talk serious now. We're going to move over and talk about Hurricane Milton now. I want to talk about this. This storm has been. Whatever you view a hurricane as, you got to prepare for the worst. Hurricane Milton has unleashed havoc across Florida. The last night, we have seen huge wind speeds. I think it laid landfall to Category 2 or Category 3 storm. It was one of the fastest developing hurricanes to Category 5. I think it took about a day, less than a day or so for it to develop into status. And it's hit parts of Florida. Tornadoes have been whipping up. Horrible wind, huge, very high winds, flash flooding, falling debris. Walt Disney World shut in Orlando, along with Universal and many other theme parks across the Orlando area. This is what we've noticed as well from the damage. As of 20 past 10 tonight, we can confirm that at least 10 people have confirmed dead after Hurricane Milton passed through Florida. The number deaths could rise as rescue workers make their way through the debris and floodwaters. In terms of other summary, more than 3 million homes and businesses were about power, while Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says more flooding is expected in the coming days. Florida residents are being warned not to visit areas hit by Hurricane Milton after it brought tornadoes, floods, and storm surges on the coast, particularly on Tampa. Also, as well, St. Petersburg on the west coast, the water supply has been cut out. A crane crashed into a newspaper building, and a roof of a Major League Baseball stadium was blown off. Milton is currently moving into Atlantic, but many parts of the state are flooded, with some people being rescued in boat. This is the devastation that was caused as well. About 430 people rescued in a significant operation. That's what the Pinellas County Sheriff had to say as well. This is some devastation there. That's the Tropicana Field, home of the Tampa Bay Rays. You can see that stadium has literally been shredded to smithereens. The roof has been literally torn off that. A collapsed construction crane in Tampa as well. A local resident getting out. And that was a tornado. There was tornadoes with this as well. Tornadoes can be just as serious. They whip up winds extremely quickly as well. Also, Helene hit the other week. That's another photograph there of some hurricane storm damage. Loads of flooding here as well. A sheriff rescued a 14-year-old. And later on in my Heroes of the Week for me, a nomination that I think is really important of a dog being rescued by police officers as well. Can I just say, you know, I would like to mention my hero of the week now, you know, because this dog was rescued during the storm, and I want to say this, okay? It was literally a dog was tied to a fence during the evacuations. Look at this. This is a dog who was tied to a fence. I mean, this is crazy. Literally, a dog was tied to a fence. Officers mused the pet was left by its owner in a moment of panic, and got rescued and was taken to the vets. Which I have to say, is very emotional that dog is still here with us today, and the police officers are heroes for that. And all the people that took part of the relief effort, all the key workers deserve a nomination this week. Zach, what do you make to Hurricane Milton's extremely devastating effects on Florida?
Oh, it was pretty awful impact that it had, Hurricane Milton. It was the most powerful storm in the Gulf Ocean, developing to up to Category 5 at some point with 160-mile-an-hour winds. Thankfully, it managed to slow down a little bit before it hit Florida. But unfortunately, it did still hit as a Category 3 with 120-mile-an-hour winds, 160-mile-an-hour gusts, and really Florida is getting the brunt at the moment with some really terrible weather. Before the hurricane hit, there was a multiple tornadoes, combined with showers, winds, and it resulted in multiple tornadoes as well. But this is the damage you can see, Charlie, as well. I think there's just so much damage. I mean, Florida's been hit by hurricane after hurricane recently. This is just added to it as well. In Orange City, just north of Orlando, there's been a bridge that's collapsed. You can see houses, pavements as well. Sadly, there have been some of those that have been affected. Some decided to stay. Some of them have sadly died. 10 of them have died. Millions of millions of people in Florida have lost their power altogether and been cut off as well. So yeah, it's been a really devastating effect for Florida in many parts, including Tampa Bay. We saw that one earlier as well with the roof blown off of the Tampa Bay stadium, as you rightly pointed out. It was just generally I saw the images and it was like, wow, and that was being used, if I remember, Tropicana Field. That was used as supposedly as a shelter for Hurricane Milton as well. So even the shelter was not immune from that as well. There's the property damage you can see there from it as well. But yeah, lots of trees, injuries, deaths, unfortunately, from this as well. It's been another devastating effect as well from Hurricane Milton as well. Just hopefully, but everyone's okay who have had to escape as well. But I just want to say thanks to the workers and the people who managed to do heroic things such as save dogs, rescue people from floods as well. But as you know, those that some have been advised not to come back at the moment whilst their rescue efforts is underway.
Yeah, Zach, it's a horrible storm, and my thoughts with all those who've lost. My thoughts with all those the people in Florida at the moment. Everyone who's had to bear the brunt of this storm. Many people, thousands of homes without power. Many people have lost key supplies to water, food, electricity, everything that's been involved with food and stuff. Is this the worst hurricane to hit Florida in a long time? Well, it is. I think it is. Is it as bad as Irma? I can't really say. But it's still a bad storm, and the way this developed was so rapid. It came out of nowhere. This thing, Milton did. There was huge warnings across much of US weather networks about how effective this hurricane was going to get, and it's hit a lot of. Tampa Bay, places where they've had storm surges and stuff, tornadoes as well have been very severe, whipping up extremely powerful winds. And I'm just worried that the effects of these tornadoes will have huge detrimental effects on community. The fact that some buildings have been whipped up by them, and people been swallowed up by tornadoes. This is a hurricane that's causing tornadoes. It's extremely dangerous. Hazard conditions outside. So yes, all we can say is, please, guys, in these areas, we pray for you, and to all those key workers out there who've been on the front line during this whole storm, this horrible storm we've had. We salute you for your efforts. Anyway, it is time now for our plank of the week. Before we do plank of the week, though, I want to talk about a football. We'll talk about the football news now, Zach. We're going to go for the sport now. And do plank of the week afterwards. Obviously, we had the Premier League last week. We've had internationals. Unfortunately, England lost tonight, very disappointingly, against Greece. Oh dear, not good news. But obviously, last week we had the Premier League, which took place. And unfortunately, there has been a death in the world of football this week as well. A very upsetting death. A Sheffield United player, Gareth Baldock, has unfortunately passed away this week at the age of just 31 years old. I think he died in Greece. I have to say, he spent 7 years at Sheffield United, arrived from the MK Dons in 2017, and he's extremely saddened to hear of his death. Yeah, absolutely devastating. He amassed over 200 appearances for joining the Greek club side Panthiakos earlier this summer. The fullback was not named in Greece squad to face England on Thursday, featured in Sunday's 0-0 draw with Olympiacos. Oh dear. I'm absolutely devastated. I mean, football fans around the world, especially here in the UK, we've lost a hugely highly respected individual. Obviously, Sheffield United unfortunately got relegated last season, but he was a huge part of their team, and he obviously used to play for Northampton Town as well. So huge loss for the community for them there as well. Obviously, as well, Premier League last week as well. Matches in the Premier League. Brighton beating Tottenham from 2 goals behind. Would you believe it? Tottenham 2 goals ahead. Brighton came back 1-3-2. In terms of that as well, in the other matches, Arsenal beat Southampton 3-1. Man City 3-2 winners there against Fulham. Brentford 5-3 against Wolves. West Ham beat Ipswich 4-1. Leicester 1-0 winners at Bournemouth. Everton and Newcastle. Aston Villa, Man U goalless. And Eric Ten Hag under so much pressure now after that draw and lost. No wins these last 2 matches there for Man U. Chelsea and Forest drew a red card, and Brighton were 3-2 winners at Tottenham, as I mentioned. Zach, football news this week, very, very busy indeed.
Yeah, talk about the Premier League results as well. You can mention it was a bit of a dramatic Sunday last week, with Brighton beating Spurs, scoring 3 goals in the second half. Man United held to a draw against Aston Villa. I mean, it's not the worst result in the world for Manchester United. I mean, should have won, but they didn't play awfully unlike last time as well. And there was wins as well, as you mentioned, for West Ham, Leicester, and others as well. So yeah, it's a busy weekend for football. And we are in the international break now. Unfortunately, it's not been a good night for England. A dreadful result. A poor football. 2 shots on target and a 2-1 loss against Greece. Could have been 3 or 4 had it not been for the offsides as well. Really poor display overall by England. It's the first competitive loss for many, many years at Wembley. It really has been a very poor result. Again, really, really poor. Lackluster display, as well as we're into the Nations League as well. So yeah, 2-1 loss for us tonight. On the other hand, the Republic of Ireland did win against Finland in our other group as well, in the group in the same group, but obviously different game tonight. Republic of Ireland won 2-1 against Finland. We are taking on Finland on Sunday away as well at Helsinki, so we need to play much better than that as well. Really do. As we go into match day 4. The other interesting match on Italy and Belgium, 2-2. Italy got a red card, I see as well, and it came for Pellegrini as well, Lorenzo Pellegrini as well. 40th minute, got a red card. Not good. But yeah, very dramatic match there overall. And tomorrow, let's talk about the other games that are coming up this weekend in match day 3 and 4. In terms of home interest, the matches tomorrow include Hungary, Netherlands, Ukraine and Georgia. That will be interesting, that one. Slovakia to win. Wales will be taking on Iceland away at 7:45 tomorrow. On Saturday, Scotland again continue their tough matches in League One. They are in A1, sorry, or the League A. They are against Croatia away, and then Northern Ireland are away to Belarus. That'll be a fun one as well. And then the other match is Spain and Denmark, and then match day 4, which runs from Sunday to Tuesday, includes our match against Finland away. We must win that one. It must win. Ireland will take on Greece as well. Italy and Israel on the Monday. Belgium and France also on the Monday. Wales, Montenegro on the Monday as well. Germany and the Netherlands, some really cracking matches throughout the Monday. And then on Tuesday, Northern Ireland against Bulgaria and Scotland v Portugal are the matches as well. The Premier League returns next week. And I know there's a few tasty little matches on next week, Charlie, as well, in the Premier League. We'll get to that in a mo. But next week in the Premier League will include the likes of Tottenham, West Ham at 12:30, and the pick of the 3 o'clocks for me is Manchester United v Brentford. At 5:30 will be Bournemouth for Arsenal next week, and the next, not this Sunday, but next coming Sunday will be Wolves, Man City, and Liverpool v Chelsea, with Nottingham Forest against Crystal Palace on the Monday night as well. So yeah, some cracking matchups coming soon as we continue International Nations League break.
Yeah, and obviously, Jack, what's your opinion on the loss of George Baldock?
Very sad, and you can tell he's a promising young player as well. He started his career at Milton Keynes, 104 times appearances for him, and then he went on loan a few times between that period with Northampton, Tamworth as well, and then he did Oxford United as well, but then moved to Sheffield United, where he was managed to get the most experiences. And then just this year alone, he then moved to Greece. He played for Greece actually internationally as well, and yeah, I mean, you can see in the Greece's goals tonight they actually wore a shirt and managed to get out a shirt, dedicate the goal to George Baldock as well. It's a very, very sad death as well, and a really shocking death as well. And my thoughts with his families and friends as well. He signed a 3-year contract as well. He's been the autopsy came back and said that he'd been found dead in his pool in his house as well, and then initial college reports that his ball had drowned, and police ruled out any further criminal activity, but further details of his death remain unknown at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely horrible. Oh dear. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm devastated. I really am. It's actually emotional. You know, it's one of the biggest losses of the year in the world of football. Definitely. I think, you know, this guy was such an inspiration to many young players growing up. 31, it's a horrible age, a huge loss. My thoughts are with George Baldock and his family right now at this very difficult time. Moving on now to obviously the next weekend as well as obviously Formula One returns to Austin. That's the next race. There are 6 races to go in that championship as well in the F1. Not really been much news on the F1. I thought I will give you an update. That is next week. Zach, I want to talk about this though, because this is an interesting F1 development, which is obviously Liam Lawson back in the car for this race next week. In terms of news though, according to what I've been, oh no, the F1, here we go, come on, been blocked here. The news is really important that this next Red Bull seat is potentially up in the air at the moment between a few drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, this will be Liam Lawson's first opportunity to see how well he does in that RB this season. And obviously, we know he's been covering for Daniel Ricciardo before, and he did really well in those races. But now he's obviously a replacement for him for the final 6 races, and he's got to show what he's worth. Because I think what it proved actually is that Red Bull are looking for possibly a second driver next alongside Max Verstappen if Sergio Perez doesn't make it. And Liam Lawson, this is a perfect opportunity to prove that he has in 6 races what it has to get that second Red Bull seat next year. And you never know, Robert Schwartzman might take that RBC or somebody else if he does well. But yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for Liam Lawson. I think he'll take the opportunity up really well. I hope he does anyway. It's his time to shine and show what he's worth. And he seems like a decent lad he is, Liam Lawson, but never will replace Henry Ricardo in terms of that as well. Yes, but F1's back next week in the USA. I'm probably sure we'll probably talk a little bit more about it when we get closer to the time next week.
Well, that's all the F1 news. Now it's time. Also, as well, in the British Touring Car Championship, congratulations to Jake Hill for winning his maiden title in that as well. I thought I could give a little mention to anyone who's watched the British Touring Car. Zach, what did you make to that? Jake Hill winning his first BTCC crown.
If I remember, I think it went down to the final race, and there's 1 point in it.
Yes, correct.
So yeah, Jake Hill, congratulations to him by winning the margin by the really slim margins. That final race was all he needed to do in difficult conditions. He made it work. He was the best driver in the day, and yeah, he won the championship. And it's his first title with him as well. He's been driving all these years as well. And he did well to ensure that he won that title as well. Congratulations to him. It's a great to see him win that as well.
Congratulations to obviously MB Motorsport as well and the BMW 3 Series that they were running. Mark Blundell, West Surrey Racing as well, also he's part of that. Mark Blundell as well. You got to give him a huge shout out. Mark Blundell, an ex-F1 driver, used to race in F1 years ago. I think for McLaren in the 90s, if I remember. Runs the MB Motorsport program as well. He obviously helps a lot of young drivers get into touring cars, into different series. It's an academy set up. And obviously he was on Richard and Izzy's podcast a few months ago, so you go and check that episode out called Who We Are Now. And also as well, Mark Blundell is also an ex-F1 racing driver, so he's raced Indy cars as well, I remember. So certainly interesting, Mark Blundell, and I hope everyone's right on that one. Now it's time for we're going to go plank of the week now. My plank of the week this week. Okay, it's sporting related this week. My plank of the week is going to be about the darts. Oh my God. What a week it's been if the top seeds have all crashed out of the first part of the competition. My plank of the week this week is Michael van Gerwen losing the first round of the World Grand Prix. Now, oh dear. If you're a Michael van Gerwen fan, you will not like this. Michael van Gerwen lost his first round match without getting a leg on the board against Daryl Gurney. Would you believe it? I actually was so shocked to hear this. This was dismal from a multiple champion of the world, that you lose multiple legs to effectively a player who I think could have easily have beaten. I mean, Gurney's a tough guy, but to not get a leg on the board, that's worrying. Oh dear. So really, for me, that's a plank of the week in a nutshell. For me, I can't really think of anything else. I suppose the other nomination I would give, oh dear, it's maybe freebie scandal from Labour, but that's all I'm gonna say tonight for my planks of the week. I mean, Zach, what's your planks of the week this week? And obviously, reaction to the World Grand Prix darts.
I got a few ideas for plank of the week, but and then thinking about it tonight, I feel like I have to give it to Marjorie Taylor Greene, of the United States Congresswoman, who once said that Jewish lasers, space lasers, cause wildfires. This week she said something completely deranged, continue her deranged form of believing things. She this week thought that made a comment saying that the government could control the weather. Just take that a moment. The government could control the weather. So presumably, by her definition, the government could stop the hurricane coming in from Florida. Does she think it can? Does she think the government can stop it rain on a Sunday evening? Does she think it can get 40-degree heat waves on a Monday morning? No. It's just what a dumb woman she is. Just a dumb attention-seeking woman. And I just generally, I can't with her sometimes. I don't even think she believes half the stuff that she said. She's a big mouth, and opens a gob, and then just says something for the sake of it, and then yeah, I believe it, I believe everything she says. Not. Oh, honestly, Marjorie Taylor Greene, pips it for me in terms of plank of the week.
And Zach, what have you made this week to the World Grand Prix with some of the top seeds going out early?
Yeah, interesting. I have to say, been some really big surprises. In terms of what's happened so far, very big surprises, I should say. As well, with several really surprising results. Michael Van Gerwen, as you mentioned, Luke Humphrey going out, defeated by Rob Cross. In terms of who's left,
It was
oh,
Daryl Gurney. We do apologise. It was Daryl Gurney that Michael Van
Daryl
Gerwen
Gurney. Let me tell
lost
you the results tonight. Gary Anderson out by Mike DeGecker. Gerwin Price out by James Wade. Joe Cullen defeating Daryl Gurney. Oh, goodness me, there has been some shocks tonight as well. But yeah, it has been wow. I'm deeply surprised by some of the results that have been happening tonight. It really is quite something. What has been going on in the darts? I mean, yeah, it really has been incredibly surprising so far as well. But yeah, it really is. Definitely it's been surprises throughout the competition so far. But it's a good thing for the neutral. It's really fun and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and obviously Luke Littler went out as well. Rob Cross beat Luke Littler in the first round. Another big name that went out. Obviously, Luke Littler was the last year's World Championship runner-up. I think won the Premier League earlier this year. Went out. And currently on at the moment, Dimitri Vandenberg and Dave Chisnall. That is the last match of tonight's play. And at the moment, Dimitri Vandenberg has a 170 chance of tonight. He's got the big fish, the 170. Someone, I think, we had that earlier in the competition. Here we go. He's now officially throwing the 170. Is he going to hit it? Currently at the moment, no, he misses and goes 20. So yeah, no, he's he's gone 130. He's left double 18. Has Dimitri Vandenberg. He's on a checkout right now. That would be, if he wins this leg, it would take it to 2-2. Obviously, if they tie on legs, all it then goes clear. Both on a double right now. I'm just keeping an eye on this at the moment. See if Dimitri Vandenberg does take the set here against Dave Chisnall. He's got double 18. Yep, we can confirm now that the leg has been won. Oh, it's a 1-0. Apologies, sorry. It's not 2-1. It's 1-0 to. That's legs. It was 2 sets to 1. In Vandenberg's favour. So basically, Dimitri wins the next leg. He will win the match. I'll keep that on there for the moment, and we'll keep you updated with that, just in case there has been a result on there as well. And the final bit of motorsport news now, Zach. Talladega NASCAR. Now, I have watched a little bit of the highlights of this race. Oh my God. One of the biggest crashes I've ever seen in Cup Series history. I mean, this was a horrible accident. To anyone who watches NASCAR, motorsport is dangerous. And pretty much Talladega, the Ellenwood 500 featured, well, quite simply, one of the biggest crashes I've ever seen in my life watching the Cup Series. This was a very big road. Obviously, we've got the Bank of America Roval race. It ended up being Ricky Stenhouse Jr. that claimed the victory in the end. But look at the DNFs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drivers did not finish the race, including Harrison Burton, Josh Berry, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain. Chase Elliott was down the field. There was a massive wreck, as you call it, the Talladega wreck, the classic wreck that we all know from Talladega. It was a big one indeed. I have the little. I'm going to show you guys exactly where it was. It was a huge wreck in the race that costed many drivers a shot at the race win. Zach, what do you make to it? The Yellowwood 500 last week.
Oh, blimey. Yeah, that was, I think, 29 cars involved in that wreck, Charlie. That, I think, is the biggest on Cup Series record, as well, in terms of the amount of cars involved in a single wreck. And it all got stacked up at the front. And then, yeah, they were so close together, they just could not get their bumpers off each other. And they all went piling in. But, yeah, 29 cars. That was quite something. But congratulations to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Victory again. I'm impressed. I'm absolutely impressed. He's done well. Was not in the playoffs, so he doesn't get through. And that means again, because he's again another driver that didn't win, not in the playoff. We have anything to play for as we go into the final round of the round of 8 at the moment, round of 12 at the moment, and we're going to be eliminating 4 more drivers after Charlotte Road Course at the moment. So at the moment, the top 12 are, well, actually, let's do the top 8. Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman. This is obviously from 8th to 1st. Denny Hamlin, Carl Larson, Christopher Bell, William Byron on points at the moment. The ones in the danger zone are Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, and Joey Logano. Looking at the points gap, it is close between, I have to say, Reddick, Elliott, Logano, Suarez, Austin Cindric, and Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe is the one that seems to be a bit more points behind at the moment. But yeah, it's very close. And we're now going to Charlotte Roval, aka the road course, and the oval combined. And yeah, as you mentioned as well, Ricky Stenhouse won by the barest of margins in what was a big photo finish. I think it was a couple thousandths of a second. It was only a couple thousandths of a second.
Very
Yeah,
close, wasn't it?
It was a close finish. The whole everything this race, close finishes, a 29 car pile up. This is the wreck, I think, coming up. You're going to see, there it is. Look at them. All close together, and
horrendous.
yeah, blocking the field. Horrendous.
Oh,
Everybody involved. 29 of them from there onwards. Yeah, if you're in the middle of the field or anywhere in the fields, you would have nowhere to go because you would have been involved. And yeah, and that's what happens at Talladega. Plate racing, bumpered cars, and yeah, everybody a demolition derby as well.
God, imagine if that was the rain and it looked like Spa 99 or Spa 98. Well, that year when Jordan won a race, had a 1-2 finish, and Michael Schumacher ran into the back of David. Does anyone remember that race? Anyone?
Yeah, I
was it
remember
Spa 1999? I remember, or 1998? Yeah, no, 1998. I think it was that race. Like, honestly, like that vibe when Jordan won. It was Damon Hill that won that race. I was like, oh man, it looks so similar, but that's in the dry, not in the wet. But it's not. It just gives me that vibe. Please comment down below, guys, what you make to that. Oh, clearly, I think we need a huge discussion on safety. I mean, looking at that, you can't see that many of the cars actually flipped over, which hopefully is an encouraging sign that maybe safety has improved on these newer generation NASCARs that we're seeing at the moment. But you know, it's a horrible crash, and it shows you the dangers of motor racing at Talladega. So, yeah. Moving on now to Conversation Street. This week, we're going to go for a fun topic. I want to talk about something important. We're going to be talking about driving snacks and snacks in general. Now, a lot of you guys requested this. I requested it this week because I feel like, when you're in the car or at home or wherever in the workplace or whatever, you feel like sometimes you have something, if it's on your break or your lunch or by your desk or at lunch in general, there's something you have to like, you just like a little nibble on and have a nice little drink, you know. It can be something. We're not going to talk about the naughty stuff, the alcohol related drinks. I thought we'll talk about different drinks, something softer and more classical and more sensible, should we say? Now, Zach, I'm going to ask you this question: are you really a car snacker guy, or do you really just have like them at home or out in public?
I don't eat whilst I drive. Um, I'm focusing on concentration on the wheel. Um, I eat all my food at home, and plus as well, if I mean, like if I was stopped or if I was in a car park somewhere, I needed something to eat, which I don't really do. I don't eat the car anyway, but I just, if I ever wanted to eat something, I would just sit there in a car park and eat. I wouldn't do it whilst I'm driving, because number one, depending on what I'm eating, my hands could be filthy. I don't want to be touching it with a sticky steering wheel because that'd be pretty horrible when you're trying to turn everything like that as well, and it would make a mess of my car. So no, I don't eat whilst I drive. I don't drink whilst I drive. Not like alcohol, obviously. Oh no. I don't drink water or soft drinks or anything like that whilst I'm driving. I just drive. I don't need to eat. I eat it. I eat whether in buildings, at homes, or anything like that. Not in a car. Definitely not.
Well, right, I'm going to talk about this now. I don't do that when I'm driving, but let's talk about food now because this is something that I have to say. Okay, right now, if I was to choose a snack that I would nibble on at a service station, you know, it would have to be chocolate Cadbury's Whisper bars. Now, does anyone remember the old Whisper bar that got reintroduced recently, like a few years ago? Basically, you go into a supermarket and you find this big aisle of chocolate that you like Charlie Bucket that had in the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You find this like golden ticket inside a Wonka bar, but you go outside and you're like, oh, the chocolate's all there, and you're like, oh, what's your flavour gonna be? What flavour can you have? What chocolate bar is there ready for you? My favourite chocolate bar, hands down at the moment, that I have been eating is a Whisper. A Whisper, like crunchy, like, you know, these like crunchy Whisper bars, like the nice soft ones. Like you can get them in like multi packs in like supermarkets like Tesco, Morrison's, you know. And I just love that they're nice and like when you eat them, they're like nice and soft and crunchy. Like that's actually a really good thing. And they're like really unique things. And then I think like as well as that, then there's in terms of drinking, like my go to drink, like obviously it's water at work, but if I was to say like out in like a social setting or like you know going out, stopping off at a service station or you know going out to a different place, I'd have to say for me it's either a tea or a Diet Coke. I think Diet Coke, you know, I'm not talking about those ones that, you know, you've seen in supermarkets at the moment that have Oreo on them. The Oreo. And no, I'm being serious. There are all the listeners out there that are actually. I went in my supermarket and then Tesco, and they're selling these Oreo style diet, like Oreo style Coca Cola drinks. And I like, who would imagine sticking Oreo Coke in a supermarket? Like
Revolting.
the wacky ideas of Oreo Coke and
Revolting.
Oreo Weetabix and Oreo milkshakes. Well, oh, I don't know what to say on that. Really, is it actually real or fake? That's the question. But you know, I just think you'd. Like I said, I stick to J2Os or Diet Cokes really when I'm out, and I think though I have tried Lewis Hamilton's new Monster drink, which didn't go down well with me unfortunately. But you know, it's certainly something. But like I said, I think my go-to chocolates definitely are gonna be Whisper and Double Decker. I think Double Decker, you know, that is very crunchy bar, or you know, milk chocolate cookies as well. I do like a cookie now and again for my lunch, but yeah, that's my confectionery stuff sorted out. Zach, I would ask you this question: what's like your go-to like snacks and drinks? Really, like what would be your go-to if you're at a service station or you're going out like in the office or whatever during the lunch break? What would be your like go-to snacks and drinks?
I just eat a sandwich and just get an apple juice or something like that. That's how I eat my lunch breaks at the moment. In terms of when I'm in the office. I don't buy lunch because I don't see the need to waste money on it. I have lunch done. It's actually nice. It's really
Would you
nice.
have a chocolate bar? Are you a chocolate guy or not really?
Yeah, of course I'd have a chocolate. I
What's
have
your
a
favourite
brioche.
chocolate?
I would have a brioche or I would have a chocolate bar. Depends what's available. I'd have a sandwich,
A
just a cheese
sandwich.
one.
Just
Um,
sensible.
yeah, just nice,
What would be
simple
like your
sandwich.
go-to? Like obviously apple juice. What would be like a go-to for like I don't know, say a calf or like a setting like that? Really,
I don't really know. I mean, like I said, I don't drink Coke. I don't drink Pepsi. I don't drink any fizzy drinks. So only J2R thing is probably the only probably relevant one I'd ever
maybe
do if I
maybe
was
like
in.
a hot drink, like a cappuccino or hot
Yeah, of course, something like that.
the
You
hot
know,
drinks. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know what? Do you know what, guys? Please comment down below because I feel like this is a very fun-filled discussion. You know, a lot of radio stations kind of do these things where you talk about, you know, your hobbies, your interests, but it's just like stuff like the general stuff. You know, like what do you have to drink? What's your like go-to drinks and like, you know, do you ever drink behind the wheel or do you ever like have a little nibble of a chocolate bar? Trust me, you get these times when people go outside and they're like covered in mushy chocolate, like all the chocolate sticks to their face, and it's like, you know, and you get all your sticky hands, and you know, I trust me, I used to get that as a kid. I used to get messy with chocolate, so no, it was crazy. But comment down below, guys, what you think on that as well. I'm sure loads of people will be chocolate bars or drinks, whatever you want to say. Um, yeah. Anyway, carrying on now, a couple more things. Another thing that I want to cover, local news. I feel like we should do this because this is another thing that I want to mention whilst we're here as well. Now, I want to talk about this. Oh, by the way, this is really important. There was a Northern Lights thing that was on today. Did anyone see this Thursday evening? And there's been like a aurora. A most prominent display was in Southend and Basildon. Zach, what do you make to this? The Northern Lights coming to Essex.
I look pretty. Definitely been some pretty images out there of Northern Lights and auroras. Well done if you have caught one. It appears to be all over the place tonight. And it appears to be some pretty little scenes. So congratulations, you have found any. I don't know. I might have to go and have a look after I've done tonight. So we'll have to see.
I mean, that's the picture there of one in South Church Park in Southend. I mean, that looks actually quite stunning, really, when you think about it. So, yeah, certainly very interesting, and you know, will be one that I think looks certainly going to. It certainly looks interesting. I think this Northern Lights thing. This was Karen Newman's picture in Fort Bay, a resident there. Looks really cool, actually. I like that. I like that the Northern Lights were a very popular thing. I think in like Norway or like Antarctica, somewhere like that. So yeah, it's certainly been interesting as well. Also, as well, I want to talk about one more thing on the show tonight, which is the end of a road for three presenters. I don't know if I've spoken about this before, but I want to talk about the end of the road for the Grand Tour with Jeremy, Richard, and James. Obviously, last month they presented their final ever special called Run for the Road, which is now out on Amazon Prime. The final ever Grand Tour. They did an interview the other day. They've done a few things as well. Obviously, been together for 20 plus years, about 24 years. I think they've been together. 22 years. I think they've been together, something like that. Obviously, James May joined Top Gear a year after the first season finished. Many road trips, challenges, obviously Top Gear, Grand Tour, had a very, long relationship. Zach, what do you make to Clarkson, Hammond and May's tenure in the world of motoring? Obviously, the ex-BBC presenters as well. It took a lot of effort. And obviously, Top Gear is a show has been in the headlines again recently as well for more reasons. And what do you make to this?
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, been a long tenure for them three, but probably the best trio in motor car history for me, in terms of creating TV shows and all that sort of thing as well, and the content they produce as well. Hilarious, funny, informative, interesting, fun. Just it's going to be very much missed, their contribution. I know there's been controversy with Clarkson throughout the years, but it doesn't matter. The three of them together has been an absolute joy, and I miss them. I really do miss them, as well. And they're all going to do their separate things now, but that's fine. They'll thrive as a separately, as well.
I mean, these three are my. I think, to be honest with you, I think they're my favourite presenters I've ever seen on TV, particularly on the BBC. They're just amazing presenters, and the chemistry is undeniable. No wonder why this was one of the best shows ever on the BBC that came out, regardless of whether it's motoring, sitcoms. This show was really good. For motoring wise, it was the best show. And I know they've done all these stunts. Obviously, Richard Hammond had 2 horrible accidents with a Rimac and with obviously the Vampire Dragster, which, both crashes nearly killed him. But to see him come through all this and to see obviously Jeremy and James, by his side the whole way through, it was huge. It's a huge amount of morale for them. And yeah, obviously, they got their own programs. Jeremy Clarkson obviously has Clarkson's Farm, which is on Amazon Prime. Still going, by the way. A very good show. I recommend Clarkson's Farm to anyone. He develops that beer called Hawkston to anyone who's been to the Farmer's Dog recently up in, I think, Oxford. Is where that is. The new pub that's open. I've heard a lot of things about that. Should give that a try, actually. Obviously, Diddley Squat Farm Shop as well. Richard Hammond obviously has the smallest cog. That's the workshop with the classic cars. And James May, I think, has got a series on Amazon called A Man In or something. I'm not entirely sure what it's called, but James May's got his own Amazon Prime series. So you can all go and watch them on Amazon Prime. It's certainly worth it. As well, time now for a musical interlude this week. Right. This week's musical interlude is gonna be very interesting. I thought I'd pick this one this week. We are going to do a song that I think has a really unique, cool vibe about it. For me, we're going to go into a whole new dimension. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play a UK garage classic tonight for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes a song that I think you're all going to love. This is a track entitled A Little Bit of Luck by DJ Luck and MC Heat. I bet if you know this one, you might know the words. We'll see you in a few minutes.
With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. We done the first fight, we done the first fight. We done falsify, 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 we done falsify. I need you now, cause your people really man alright. The DJ now, cause your people really bad baseline. Bad baseline, bad baseline, bad baseline. I love with the mixing sound, 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 I love with the mixing sound. With a little bit of luck, come make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, come make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, come make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, come make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, come make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, come make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, come make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, come make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. I love with the mixing sound, 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 I love with the mixing sound. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of luck, we can make it through the night. I love with the mixing sound, 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 I love with the mixing, I love with the mixing sound, 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 I love with the mixing.
Thank you there, guys. Sorry, it's a very long track. I should have realised how long it was and cut half of it out. That was a little bit of luck there. DJ Luck and MC Neat, a classic Gary score. I heard that song as a kid. I loved it. Zach, what do you make to that song? A proper throwback tune, isn't it?
It is very much a throwback to the garage eras, and definitely one of the best garage songs from the era.
Yeah, it's a classic. I know. Popular song on the Mick for DJs. I can tell a lot of clubs, certainly with nightclubs, would definitely play that song. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say there as well. A great Jack classic tune. Now it's time for the papers this week, where we are going to be talking about lots of stuff. So let's have a look at the papers for tomorrow and beyond. For the 11th of October, the Daily Mirror goes as Kate... Oh, wow. Huge news here. Kate and William's visit to console families affected by the Southport stabbing incident. Smiling, caring, hugging Kate is back. Princess's surprise visit to bereaved Southport attack families and 999 heroes. The Daily Mail also goes with Reeves' tax hike plan that cost billions. HMRC's own figures suggest a large CGT rise mooted, but budget would backfire. That's at the end of the month. The Times goes with a workers' bill to help unions crash. Angela Rayner has also been in Parliament this week having a debate about a new bill potentially on workers, I think. A proposed youth law helping the UK aims to make it easier for unions to raise funds for the Labour Party, grants of extra powers in the workplace, potentially increasing membership dues and providing unions with larger role in industrial negotiations. The Guardian, UN says Israel deliberately fired on its peacekeepers. Benjamin Netanyahu made an address this week where President Macron of France, criticised criticised Macron for not sending extra weapons to Israel. The eye goes for carers set for new pay rise under Angela Rayner's new law. Daily Express, impossible choice to heat. That's talking about the recent reduction in winter fuel payment. Daily Telegraph, private hospitals to rescue NHS. Daily Star goes, Bonnet did Dooch, only falls on Halsey's legend. That's, of course, Del Boy, David Jason. Backs a mega important Daily Star campaign to spare classic put downs from extinction. Del Boy, save our Gitson plonkers. And the Metro obviously goes for the Hurricane Milton headline. Hammered, but Florida dodges the worst case scenario. Hurricane Milton leaves 3 million people without electricity. 8 dead so far, and fears more amid floods. But the toll could have been much greater, says the governor, Ron DeSantis. So that's the papers this week. Zach, what's your take on the papers for the 11th of October 2024?
Let's go through some of them, actually. I mean, this splashed across all the papers, but this is the only one that gets the sort of the main headline tree, and is Kate. She's back in action again. She made a surprise visit today to the bereaved families of those that suffered in the Southport stabbings as well. And she met the 999 heroes who actually went to the scene as well. And there were many photos of her today. And look at the smile that she has on her face. It's very lovely to see. Clearly enjoyed listening to all the people as well, and chatting to the families and all that still grieving from the awful Southport attacks from a few months ago that caused the summer of riots across the UK. It's really good to see it smiling. It's a pleasant mood seeing that one as well. Let's talk about other headlines as well. The Daily Mail talk about possible news on possible capital gains tax increases. Now, Rachel Reeves is trying to find measures to fill the 22 billion black hole. She looks like she's turning to capital gains, speculation for as well. There's some rumours that it could go from 33 to 39%. But there's also Treasury figures that are saying as well that may even backfire if she increases capital gains tax as well. Reeves' tax plan that costs billions. Well, it's supposed to raise wins actually as well. So I suspect she may come down to a sort of middle in the road sort of figure on this as well. Probably about, I'd say 36% possible, I think, as well. But she could have well increased it to 39% as well. Some say this could drive investors away from the UK, but we'll have to see about that as well. The Times, let's do the Times and the Eye, because they sort of go on the same subject. There's been a new workers' rights bill that has been unveiled in Parliament today. Employment rights bill, should we say? It includes everything from rights from day one in terms of unfair dismissal as well. Carers getting a pay rise in terms of that as well. That's what the Eye's saying as well in terms of everything. It makes given the great powers of the workplace and increase membership dues and provide a union with a larger role in industrial negotiation. It bans exploitative 0 hours contracts as well. Bans the practice of fire and rehire in general, which is actually a good thing. I think this is one of Labour's big manifesto commitments of an employment right bill, and so yeah, the Times language is going to help the union. The Eye is going to say it's going to help the carers get a pay rise as well. Working through a new negotiation body as well, and an overseas a body overseeing new employment rights in the UK. So this is actually a good thing, I have to say as well. I'm pleased this is getting implemented, and it's got its first reading today. Obviously, no debate. It's just got its first unveiling to Parliament, and I imagine we'll get a second debate reading very, very soon. As well. Let's talk about the Guardian. UN says Israel deliberately fired its peacekeeper. There has been some action today in Lebanon as well. In Lebanon said Israel forces deliberately fired on its positions, injuring 2 peacekeepers, bringing out face accusations of violence against international law. Israel should not be doing this. They should be focusing on targeting Hezbollah and its military operations. We know that I should point out today that Israel has convened its cabinet. Netanyahu has convened its cabinet to discuss the action it's going to take in terms of retaliation against Iran after its attacks last week, rocket attacks as well. The US, I know Netanyahu had a phone call with Biden. It looks like they're sort of agreeing on the area of the scope of what the attack may well be, which could calm the nerves. Or the US sort of are wanting a slightly more restraint response from Israel. As well, which obviously I think we all want restraint, but yeah, it doesn't appear like it at the moment. We've done the Eye. I've sort of doubled up with that. The Times I did it Express. The once again go on the winter fuel cut again. It's almost like pot and kettle with the Daily Express. I'm not saying this is something to highlight, but goodness me, I feel like the millionth story on the winter fuel payment. With pensioners fear their life with impossible choice of heat and eating. I mean, they've done this story a million times before. I'm not saying this is very serious because I genuinely feel so sorry for those that have been pushed. I do feel like there could be a little tweak to this that should be mentioned, but this has been voted on in June Parliament anyway. But yeah, the Daily Express goes for the winter fuel payment for the millionth time. So I'm just not going to bother with that to be in general. The Daily Telegraph: private hospital to the rescue of the NHS. A proposal involving private hospitals aiming to support the NHS by potentially reducing waiting from 2.5 million patients with a £1 billion initiative that could commence within weeks. Look, I'm not a fan of the private sector in general. I mean, in terms of like when the NHS is never going to be prioritised. I mean, pretty sure Wes Street and made sure that will never happen. But imagine private hospitals getting involved with reducing the NHS waiting list is actually, to be fair, it's welcome. It's not privatisation before; it's the private sector helping out the NHS, and I think actually, in general, it's not a bad idea as well. Let's do Daily Star, 2 more ones as well. Del Boy, a beloved character from Hall Forces, supports campaign to preserve classic British expressions to ensure they remain party language. Save our gits and plonkers. That's how they say it as well. Yeah, why not? As long as it's not too offensive. Gits and plonkers, absolutely. I don't see why they'll be under threats anyway, but absolutely. Get rid of save the gits, save the plonkers, save the numpties. That's how I put it. Save them as well. No, absolutely, I support that as well. And the Metro, few. Yeah, I kind of say it's a few, but it's still awful what's happened. That's the Metro's perspective on Hurricane Milton. But it's left 3 million without electricity, 8 dead so far, and fears more amid floods, 27 tornadoes as well. Toll could have been much greater, says Ron DeSantis. And yeah, it could have been a much worse storm. It thankfully died down a little bit as well, but it still caused a devastating impact for many millions of people that has Hurricane Milton as well. And my thoughts are of everyone who are suffering for that at the moment. But yeah, that is the Papers, Charlie. For the 11th of October 2024.
Yeah, just before we go, Zach, there's been a lot of news this week in America, obviously, regarding the storm with Biden. But also, Donald Trump returned to Butler the other day for a campaign speech. Obviously, Elon Musk was in attendance. What did you make so far to the latest news, obviously, other than the US politics this week?
Yeah, Donald Trump returned to Butler this week, and Elon Musk was a guest at the rally as well. Yeah. Twitter billionaire, or ex-billionaire owner as well, making his stance very much known. Pretty much, he also did an interview with Tucker Carlson. I didn't watch it because I can't be asked to watch it. But yeah, Trump also went to Detroit today, saying how much he hated Detroit, even though he had a rally there. Make it make sense as well. Yeah, the race remains close as ever in the United States, the presidential race as well. Yeah, it's too close to call at the moment, I think. At the moment, I can't tell which way it's going to go at the moment.
And what's your assessment for next week, over the next week of news? What do you think is the most important things in Parliament that will be discussed next week?
I say it's less about what's happening in Parliament, but more the Conservative leadership race. We're going to have our first it's on GB News. Funny enough, on the Thursday, 7:00, GB News will be the first head debate between Kemi and Robert Jenrick. Will be interesting to debate between the two of them as well. But yeah, that will be on GB News next week. Britain's worst news channel, but I'm going to put up with anyway. For 2 hours of Tory ideas being, done to a Tory audience, to Tory members, to with the most Tory ideas from the most right-wing people possible. That's all next week, and I'm going to have to watch it, I'm afraid. I really do feel sad that I have to watch it, but it's going to have to happen. I'm sorry.
That is next week. The Tory leadership debate on next Thursday, so it'll be very interesting. This time next week we'll be reacting to that, so it's certainly going to be interesting. And also to confirm in the darts as well, Dimitri Vandenberg has Dave Chisnell, I believe, lost. I think to Dimitri Vandenberg.
Yeah, against Dimitri Vandenberg.
Yeah, 3-1. Yeah, a win for Dimitri Vandenberg there in that match. Congratulations to him. In the darts of the World Grand Prix. Thank you so much for watching. That is it for the Tonight Show podcast. We'll see you again next time for another edition of the show. Take care and good night.